We the Real People on location. And this time, we've come to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor, Michigan, of course, is known for all its art and culture, but of course, the most important part of Ann Arbor, Michigan, to all that you probably ask, is the University of Michigan, home of the Wolverines. So here we go. We the Real People are going to go into Ann Arbor, Michigan, and ask real questions, raw questions, unbiased questions. Let's go to Ann Arbor. Avondale. So that's Yellow Jackets?
Yeah. Yep.
I know all this stuff because, wait, are you videotaping right now? All right, here we are in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I got four lovely ladies. Are you all University of Michigan students?
Yeah.
Go Wolverines. Oh, we got one. Where are you from? Are you a Michigan girl?
Rochester University. I play volleyball there.
Where do you play?
Rochester University.
Where is that, over in Rochester, Michigan? Yeah. Oh, look at that, out by Oakland University, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, in your minds, what is the most pressing issue that we as Americans face today?
I think just division in our country, to be honest. I mean, none of us can really agree on anything, it seems like. So, yeah, I think division.
I think Morgan makes a good point about division in our country, but from an environmental standpoint, I'd probably say climate change, because it's hard to argue with statistics and facts that our Earth is dying, and we need to do something about it.
Okay, there you have it.
I said kind of the same as Morgan. I think division in our country is really big, whether it be politically or not. We're just really divided, and I think the past year and all the events that's occurred has really shown us how divided we are as a nation.
Okay, I'd say just like the health of our nation and COVID and the pandemic and how we're just approaching it. It kind of feels like we're going backwards a little bit, so I would say that's the most.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to expand on that. What do you mean go backwards?
Okay, well, I just feel like, we all want to go back to the way that, like, we used to be, like 2 years ago, and we're all getting the vaccine, but we're all still getting sick. Like, personally, I got the vaccine, and I still got the Delta variant, still from wearing masks indoors and everything. So, I don't know, it feels like no progress is, like, being made a little bit, but I don't know.
Well, hold on. I'm going to go back to this. Expand on the vaccine. This is good, ladies.
Okay. I mean, I got vaccinated too, and I feel like being vaccinated or getting the vaccine is kind of like an incentive to like take the mask off and things to go back to normal. And I feel like that's kind of how it was when the vaccines first came out, and then now it's like, oh, you're vaccinated, but you still have to like keep the masks on and stuff like that. So I feel like people see no point in getting it at this point, because there's like, oh, like there's nothing, like I'm not getting any benefits out of it or anything. So
again, live from Ann Arbor, go Wolverines, go blue.
Go blue.
There they are. Thanks, ladies.
Go blue.
Go blue. Go blue.
I think it is the opioid crisis.
You got to keep going on that. Yo, yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'm pre-pharmacy. I work in a pharmacy, and I see just the effects of addiction on a lot of people, and it definitely affects lower socioeconomic demographics, and it's crushing it, and it's fully just for money and profit, and people don't even realize that they're getting manipulated by the health system. And yeah, I mean, doctors are getting richer.
Okay, so let me interrupt just a little bit.
Okay,
so this is cool. We've not had this one on We the Real People. Is there any kind of alternative to this kind of medication?
THC.
Which is, oh, by the way, pot, marijuana, all that good stuff.
But it comes in a lot of different forms. You can have extracted products that are just cannabinoids, and it helps a lot with pain, and it's not addicting. There's not been deaths from THC, and I mean, I think it's a great alternative, and I'm really excited to where it's going to go. And I think it's growing as I'm like learning more and going to get into the field of pharmacy, and I'm excited to be able to like prescribe that and use that as an alternative to opioids.
That's good answers. Maddie.
Okay.
What's on?
So to add to what Paige was saying before, I think one of the biggest problems is that healthcare is so privatized. And there's very basic issues of equity and access, in which millions of Americans don't have access to basic infrastructure and things like education, healthcare, going to a good grocery store, and it's all builds off of each other, right? If education is based on property taxes, if you live in a poor area, you're going to have poor education, you're going to be set up less for life, and it's all kind of coming back to the central system. And I think if healthcare was more socialized and more accessible, then you can, eat well, feel good, think clearly, chase more opportunities, have more opportunities, and a lot of problems would be solved that way. So
I think that lots of America lives in oblivion to like what's actually going on behind the scenes, which is just covered up by the big people, and I think that's the biggest problem. And I don't think there's anything anyone could do about it because it's going to be like that because no one has control over the big people.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to have you expand. We the real people, do you feel they could come together, or are they just kind of screwed on this whole situation?
I hope so, but I don't think there's a way. I think that there's a people up there and no one's going to be able to mess with them.
Should the government mandate nurses to be vaccinated, or should it be the choice of that individual?
Ooh, well, I personally think yes. Because I think that with this pandemic, herd immunity doesn't work unless people get the vaccine, and it's really important to A, protect yourself, B, protect everyone else, and also when you're working in a hospital, there's so many people that are immunocompromised, and you're putting those patients at risk to not do so. So I think that yes, and I think that if people see that there's an issue with that or personally feel like they shouldn't have to do that, then go work somewhere else. I don't know, like you're putting people's health at risk, and I think yes is the answer to my question.
I think at this time it's inflation. I think that people are concerned about working very hard to save, and that through inflation you're actually going to lose what you've saved, and for people that are looking to retire, that opportunity may not present itself. So for me, from my perspective, that's what's most important right now and in the forefront of my mind.
Where did it all begin?
I perceive it as beginning with this administration, and I perceive it as getting worse, not just inflation, but some changes in the tax laws, which may actually encourage people to do things that are more silly with their savings than they would have done otherwise. I think it will discourage investing.
Okay, my name's Anika, and I think the most pressing issue in America is probably like income inequality.
Okay, I'm going to have you expand on that.
I think like the difference between like lower class and upper class and like the resources that they get.
How do you think they can fix it?
Maybe like better distribution of resources and getting kind of like the upper class to like do their fair share.
Good answer. Great answer. All right, I'm going to go down the line. What's your name?
I'm Arvi, and I think the most pressing issue in America is diversity and inclusion. I think growing up as like a dual culture like environment, I'm a first generation American, so just understanding like how to accept everyone's culture and emphasizing with those around you is probably a really prominent issue in America.
And what's your name?
I'm Garima, and I think it's just like the lack of empathy and like the willingness to compromise that people are like having right now.
So I would say the biggest issue would be like the politicization of like every issue, like no matter what it is, there's like it has to do with politics. So, and like people just are against it to be against it. So like, I think an example of that is the vaccines.
Armand, I'm coming at you on this one. Vaccinations, mandate them or make it a choice?
I think make it a choice, but for certain like restaurants and stuff mandated, I think it's up to the businesses to mandate it, and they have every right to mandate it if they choose to do it.
So what's your name?
I'm Arian.
ahead,
And
Arian.
I think the issue that's most on my mind right now is school safety, especially with like younger kids. So I have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, and like obviously I was in high school too, like 2 years ago. So like having to worry about my safety at school because of like outside threat, that should never be a thing. And I feel like that has to be fixed.
Tell me, how can we fix it?
How can we fix? So this has to do with all kinds of issues like gun control. It has to do with like how states deal with like shooting, like what kind of crime it can be classified as. So I don't really know the specifics, but it could be something like that.
Thanks, guys.
Well, what means a lot to me right now, and a pressing issue, is the cost of college education. I have a senior in high school, and it's stressing me out because, I don't want my child to be in debt for the rest of his life. And so right now it's an extremely pressing issue because the cost to go to college is extremely outrageous here in the United States.
Well, I have a daughter that was a senior in 2020 and then went to freshman year in 21. And I just don't know what is going to happen to all these kids that have been isolated and nobody seems to, they just kind of open it up. They don't really open it up. And these kids went back to college and they don't have any friends they made last year. It was just a terrible year and nobody talks about it.
Mental health.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Is mental health a big issue in our society because of this?
Yes.
It's massive.
And not just because of COVID. I mean, we're opening up and talking about it, but not that much still. It's still a taboo subject, and it really shouldn't be. I think so many of these kids and adults have untreated, undiagnosed mental health issues that we need to be more open about and discuss and get treatment to these people. It's not a crime to have mental health issues.
Right.
I don't know, if I had to pick one that probably is closest to me is the pro-choice. It really frightens me to see us stepping back 30, 40 years. And to me, we should have choice to do what we want to do with our bodies, and it's nobody else's choice. And people are going to have an abortion no matter what, so let's keep it safe. Nobody dreams of having an abortion, so it's a fact of life, though, so let's keep it as safe as possible.
Ladies, thanks so much for talking
Good luck
with
to you
us.
guys.
Oh, it's fun.
How are you? And you too, Rio.
This will not be on. Maybe it will.
Probably the health issues with the COVID and all that kind of thing. That is huge. I was a nurse, and so I know firsthand how bad the crisis is at this point and how it can lead to prolonged care and that kind of thing. And I think we just need to really think ahead on how we're going to help people get back into the mainstream of life, because it's overwhelming.
So let me take it one more step further. Mandate vaccinations or make it a choice?
That's a tough one too. I'm kind of pro get your vaccine because of health care, because it spreads so quickly and through the schools and whatnot and that kind of thing. I know it's everybody's choice, but at the end of the day, who's going to take care of you? It's going to have to be the healthcare people who got vaccinated, because otherwise there's nobody.
I'd probably have to agree. It's the vaccination issue. It's really caused a divide with pro-vaccination and anti-vaccination. Yeah.
Mandate the vaccinations or do not mandate. Let it be a choice.
I don't know. That's a tough one. At the end of the day, everyone needs to take personal responsibility. So, I don't know. I guess I lean more towards pro-vaccination. But if you're not going to get vaccinated, that's cool. But be respectful, and if the rules are wear a mask, 6 feet, et cetera, just be respectful to your fellow man, and that way we can get past this whole thing.
I think the comfort of isolation, but that turning into a bad thing. Like the fact that we have this opportunity that we can choose to stay in our house or go out and see, we can work from home, or we can go into school or into work and be around people. And when you're home all day, it's way more comfortable and easy, but then you're lacking all the social interaction, and the social interaction is so important for us to be able to understand each other. And I think that's our biggest flaw right now, not being able to understand each other.
That's a good answer.
Great answer.
I'd probably say the vaccine, getting everyone vaccinated, and exploring trust and trusting medicine to get us back and running up to normal. I think that's the way to go. So we gotta get there as a country.
Another great answer. And Emma, right?
Yeah.
Emma.
I was going to say the same thing about the vaccine, and just that we're still living in a
world where COVID is around, and making sure that we can all be vaccinated and there's education and we make it happen, because it is definitely affecting some people in some specific areas of the country more so than others. And yeah, I think the vaccine too.
So let's get a little risky. Mandate vaccination from the federal government or make it a choice. I'm going to go right back to Emma and then down the line.
I think we should mandate it personally. I guess like there's other vaccines that are like required for, or mandated in the sense of like if you're going to public school, if you're participating in summer camps, if you're doing all this stuff, like there's other lists of vaccines that you need to get, and I think the COVID one should be that. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think with a few exceptions, it should be mandated, generally speaking, to get everything back up and running.
I agree. Like, if it should be like to the point where you can choose not to have it, but it's a real inconvenience to not have it. Like, it's just way easier to just get it and be over with it.
All great answers right here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. By the way, I didn't get your name, so I know I got Emma and
Kate.
Grace.
And Grace. And by the way, Kate Rice, I might have went to high school with your mom, so we'll find out. All right, so here we are. We the real people here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, getting real answers from real people, raw and uncensored. Thanks, ladies.
Go Blue!
Go Blue!
I think that we should trust science. I think that a lot of the things that we have built are based on science, and the fact that data is out there and people, willingly ignore the data and they just believe what they want to believe. I think that kind of angers me, to be honest. I understand that the willingness of doing things can perturb like a lot of decisions, and people have their freedoms like impinged. But I mean, they put fluoride in the water, right? Well, some places. And why? Like, why do they do that? It's to benefit the society as a whole. And if you look at the epidemiology, I'm a PhD student here in movement science. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I feel like I'm fairly educated as far as the literature goes. But it's like, listen to the science. Look. Why? If you're making a decision that is hurting the entire community as a whole, so I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't get behind it. I mean, entire religions are based on the benefit of of the people. So I don't know. It's something that angers me, but
There you have it, right here in Ann Arbor. James with a real opinion, unbiased, uncensored, here with We the Real People. Thanks, James.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I think honestly we're just too busy fighting with each other because there's so many problems in the world. Global warming, racism, healthcare, like anything. You could say anything is a problem. But we're too busy fighting about silly things to solve any of these problems. We're not actually evolving or getting anywhere.
Well, I think there are a lot of things that people are attaching to and they start to get divided. And I think media, in particular social media, is just really driving people into opposite corners, and it really gets them entrenched, and people lose focus on how do we work together to solve problems as opposed to attaching to their specific cause.
Bye-bye, coffee. Thanks, guys.
I work as a salesman for a painting company right now.
There you go. Real people, right?
Yep, real people.
Okay, and what's your name again?
Julie.
Julie. And Julie, you're a student here in University of Michigan, right?
Yep, I'm a grad student.
Hey, what are you studying?
Business.
Probably vaccines, mandatory vaccines are pretty controversial right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you going with that? What is that, Julie?
I just said I have to agree with that.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this one out at you. Vaccines, should they be mandatory? Absolutely, you must get them, or should it be a choice?
I think it should be a choice.
I think it should be mandatory.
Look at this, divided. You gotta love it. All right, so I want you to, that's right, expand on it. Why?
I think it should be mandatory for everybody who can get the vaccine. However, if you have, the blood clots or some pressing health issue, then that's okay. We don't want people to get hurt, but people's safety has to be first.
Good stuff. Ethan?
I think the people that want the vaccine can get it, and they've had plenty of time to get it now, so and they're protected from COVID and all the other things. So I mean, like I don't think that they should force their views of like getting the vaccine on other people. Especially, I mean, like, I'm sure the vaccine is relatively safe, but they don't actually know 100% the long-term effects of it yet. So, like, to force everyone to get it is sort of, I don't agree with that, at least. I mean, I do have the antibodies. And they're saying, I've seen some research that say that the antibodies are better from actually having it rather than the vaccine, so.
Good stuff right there.
No, Julie.
Oh, Julie.
Yeah, she doesn't agree.
This is raw.
This is raw.
Though I have not had COVID, I still think that people who are immunocompromised, they can't get the COVID. They can't get COVID or else they might have even more serious issues. So it's just a general well-being thing to get vaccinated and keep your community protected.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
All right.
I'd say the most pressing issue is climate change for Americans. I think it's not only for Americans, but the whole world, something that if we don't take care of now, 20 years, 40 years, our kids won't even have a chance to talk about what the most pressing issue is.
At this point, I would say like obesity and processed foods.
Why do you think the obesity is occurring?
Because it's cheaper to eat unhealthy and quicker food is typically not as nutritional. Like in the 1960s, that it took humans like 3 times as long to make their food. And now it's less and everybody's fatter. So.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
I honestly think education. I think we are, a lot of our young people, there are things that they are interested in learning that we don't tell them right away, or they get to learn maybe too late. And then having access to all that education, everybody, the underserved communities, the technology, the textbooks, to make sure that they are competitive, because it's a very competitive education market right now. Yeah.
So let me expand on that. So what I heard you say is that the education system, well, it's struggling right now.
Yes.
Okay. Where does that come from? Is that a federal, a state, or a local government that's contributing to this?
I think that it's probably federal and state. I think federal funding to make sure that all the monies can go to the affected schools, but also to make sure that the schools that are thriving continue to thrive. And then on the state level, making sure that they're listening to the teachers and the educators, the people that are really right there working with these kids day in and day out, and hear what they're looking for so they can form curriculum that meets their needs.
Schools are mandating vaccinations. Are you for mandating those vaccinations for students, or are you about choice?
I think everybody deserves a choice. I specifically got it because I like seeing my family and like being around my family. But if some people don't think that they need it or want to get it, then they don't have to get it, in my opinion. But
for me, it would be safety. Living in America, just the climate, going outside of our country and in our country. Safety for our children, whether it's internal gun laws, all that, or if it's external in other countries, it would be safety for me.
Andrea, are you still thinking?
I think I'll give you a little something.
Okay, here we go.
For me, I think it's important to have a sense of community. So what we are missing is connection with one another, relying on one another in our neighborhoods. With health issues, we need to rely on each other as a community, and I think that's something we're really missing right now. So I think that's important.
Good stuff. All right, Claire, I'm coming at you. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
Most pressing issue in America. What is it?
God, you're killing me with the most pressing.
Okay. Your most pressing.
My most pressing. So I work with kids a lot. So I think for me, I would say education, which is funny because you guys are teachers. But I think it's something that we lack in the U.S. I think that we don't invest enough in like our teachers. We don't invest enough in the staff. We don't invest enough in the programs. And if you think about it, like kids spend most of their time in school, and a lot of kids are getting there's too much variability in what kids are getting in school. And I think that if we're trying to bring up these kids to be the next leaders and all of that, I think that they need an equal opportunity to be able to do that. And I think that's just not what we give them. And I think other countries do it really well. And yeah.
All right, here we are, we the real people, ready to go back out on the road. And today, we're going to draw from a cup. Last time, as you know, we threw a dart. Today, it'll be a cup. And what we're going to do is, I don't want to redo that. GoPro, stop recording.